Listen, I'm Rick Sanchez from Earth Dimension C-137. Don't mean you any harm. Coming in peace. It's all cool in the good in the neighborhood is what I was trying to is what I meant.
Okay, this is going to be the last video for Rick Sanchez, I swear. So we need to give him some hands, so we'll make some switch layers. We need to turn his feet some, and then we need to make his lab coat. So let's go ahead and get started. And first thing I'm going to show you guys is making some switch layers for the hands. And right now, I clicked on his left hand. Let me zoom in here. I'll go ahead and hit Command left bracket to hide the timeline. Hide the Windows action window. And right now we just made this hand really quick. I'm gonna adjust this just a little bit and hit C and curve out the fingers so they look a little better. Like that. Then I'm gonna hit A and add some points, just kind of at the knuckles or the midpoint of the fingers, just so we can make a bunch of different hand poses fairly fast. And whoops. So this is the default hand, or the hand that we created at the very beginning. And I want to start making some more hands that I can switch through. So I need to go over here, create a new layer, and we'll call it, or make it a switch layer, and call it left hands. Let's go ahead and click on that left hand and drag it into that folder. Oh, and double click the left hand switch layer folder and click on masking, and don't mask this layer. It's just being hidden because we put masking in for the belt earlier. So here's our first hand, and let's go ahead and rename this. We'll call it palm open. And the best way that I think to make switch layers for hands is to just duplicate one that you already have. That way it's already bound. It already has a color style applied to it if you have used color styles. So I'll go ahead and hit duplicate, and I'll leave it called palm open 2, but I'm just going to reverse it so his hand's facing the other direction. So I'm going to hit Command A. Oops, after I name it. Command A, that's going to select all of the points, and then I'm going to hit T, and then I'm going to click flip horizontally, and then just turn it this way. I'm just grabbing that inner box to rotate the artwork, and I'll go ahead and select this thumb line and just delete that. So now the hand's facing the other way. Command A and then T, just kind of adjust it a little bit more. I can change the point of origin to be right at the base of the bone, just so when I rotate it, it's right there. Like that. So yeah, palm open 2. Then we can just duplicate this, and we'll just call this next hand resting, and I'll hit T, and I'm just going to manipulate the points, and we'll kind of close the hand a little bit. Let's grab these fingers and move the points together some. This is just going to kind of be his hand at rest. And I'm zooming in with the mouse wheel, holding spacebar to move around on the canvas. C to curve out these points a little bit more. And just bring his hand in. His pinky's hidden a little bit, like that. So then we have another hand done. Let's go ahead and duplicate that one. Let's call this one pointing. Hit T. Point one finger. We can go ahead and just shrink these fingers. Grab these points here and maybe curve this out a little bit. Maybe I'll hit A and add another point so I can kind of do that. So we've got another hand pointing. Let's duplicate that. We'll call this 2, or maybe the peace sign. just grab the other finger, move the points a little bit. So, got another hand pose. Maybe move these fingers so they're kind of split apart some. Like that. Duplicate the peace sign again and just leave it peace sign 2, so we can just hit Command A, flip it with the horizontal like that. And so let me see, I'm trying to think how this would look. So the thumb would be over there. So on this one, I'm gonna hit delete and delete a couple of these points. Oops. Like this. Hit C, curve this point out. Hit T to move it. So I still want to do a peace sign, but I'm just flipping the hand. I'll hit S for a new shape. And let's go over to styles and select the skin color, Rick's skin color. Just draw a little square, hide the edge. That way we can make a thumb. Hit A, add another point. Go ahead and curve some of these points out. Whoops. Like that. Adjust the fingers some. And the hands don't have to be, I mean, you can always come back and readjust these things and make them look better. I'm going to do it kind of fast. Let's go ahead and delete some of these points. And maybe, I think I got too many points in here still. Go ahead and do this. Hit C, curve this out. I'll hit S to add another shape. Hit T to move the points again. Use the hide edge tool. And just make some fingers this way. Maybe hit T and select that finger I just made. Command C, Command V to copy paste. Just so we have the other finger. And then I'll go ahead and hit Command A, select them all the points, and then rotate it back into place. So you can see, like, I just made, what, 5 different hand poses really fast. And because they're all in that group, and that group is already bound to the bone. Oops. That's good that this happened. The main part is still bound, but those new little pieces that I made aren't. So let's go ahead and do this. Instead of having to bind everything, let's click on that left hand's group folder that we just made. Select the bind layer. So it's going to bind the entire layer or the entire folder. So I'll click on that. It turns bright red. And now, if I hit Z, the hand is connected, and no matter which one I switch to, they should all be bound because the whole layer is bound. Whether or not I bound those points, which is good. And the other thing we can do is, so we have the left hands. Let's color code this so it's orange as well. And apply. And get rid of this. There we go. So we have the left hands. Let's just duplicate that whole group layer. Duplicate that, call it right hands. Let's go ahead and move that to where the right hand is. And we can select that other default one we made and just delete it. Select the right hands folder, recolor it purple so we know it's on the right side, and apply. And all we need to do is use the transform layer tool, flip it horizontally. I'll go ahead and change the point of origin, or where it rotates from, and go ahead and move that into place. We'll go ahead and do the same thing that we just did with the left hand. We'll use the bind layer tool and bind it to this bone. And then if I hit Z and test it, now this hand not only is bound, but it also has all these other positions that I just made. So that makes it really fast to, you know, make switch layers for the hands, which is pretty easy to do. And like I said, I don't think you need to put any bones in the hand or the fingers or anything. It's easy to just drag and drop points, like I did earlier. And we can also, while we're here, let's go ahead and we're on frame 0. Let's do a command left bracket to see the timeline again. So you need to be on frame 0. We'll go ahead and make a couple of smart bone actions for the hands. So I'll hit B, select the left hand, hit A. This is to add a new bone. I'll just draw a bone kind of next to the hand. The reason I selected the hand bone first is I want it to be connected. So if the character's moving around, it's always going to follow it. We'll turn down the bone strength, hit B, rename this left hand positions, or left hand poses, whatever you want to call it. We'll show the label. Let's go ahead and color it just so we can see it. And then, so the easiest way to do this, I believe in MOHO 12 and 13, you can use a switch layer window, but this is Anime Studio 11 Pro. So we're gonna go ahead and open the window actions panel and click on Smart Bones and new action. Go ahead and rename it left hand poses. Make sure it's named exactly the same. Hit return, and that did not work. Why did not work? Left hand poses. There it goes. When it's correct, the timeline will turn blue. So what we want to do is, for the left hands, click on the left hand folder, or right click on it, and I'm going to make the first hand pose resting, just because that's probably the most commonly used one that we're going to use for the animation anyway. So there's the first pose, and it makes a keyframe. Then I'm going to hit the right arrow, and then right click on the left hand's folder again, and then we're just going to go through the hands that we just made. Click on peace signs 2, then right arrow, go to frame 3, right click on the folder, select the next hand pose, right arrow, right click, next position, right arrow, right click. We'll skip over resting because we made that the first one. And that one, right arrow, right click, and palm open. And don't forget, you still need to go to the bone layer, hit T, and we're going to rotate. We'll go ahead and rotate it just 90 degrees to the right. And so you can see when I drag in the timeline that we switch through all those hands that we've created. So we can double click back into the main timeline. Now we have that set up. Let's just right click and set it on resting. So that's the starting position anyway. And then we'll go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. Hit B. Make sure you're on the bone layer. Select the right hand. Hit A to add a new bone. And drag and drop. Turn that strength down. Hit B again. Rename this right hand poses. Show the label on that too and color it. And we'll do the same exact thing. Create a new smart bone action. Call it right hand poses. Turns blue down here. This time we're going to select the right hand switch folder. Oops. What happened? Yeah, right hand folder. Select resting. That creates that first keyframe. Then we'll hit the right arrow on our keyboard. You can click on the timeline too. It's just easier to use the arrows. Then right click on the switch layer folder. Select the next hand. right arrow, right click, next pose, right arrow, right click, next pose, right arrow, right click, skip resting again because we made that the first one, and do those for all the hands you make. You can make as many or as few as you need. And then don't forget, if you don't rotate the bone, if you go back into the timeline, and let me go in here real quick. See those controls are following the hands now. So if I hit Z and move the hand, so the left one's working, I can cycle through those hands we made, but because I didn't rotate this one in the smart bone action, it's not working. And that's something that a lot of people run into, is they make these switch layers and they're like, it's not moving. So we'll go back into it, double click it, click on the right hands, make sure you go to that last frame, which is frame 6. Go to the bone layer and then go ahead and rotate this bone. That way, and the other way to check this is just to grab your line on the timeline and just move it, and you can see if it cycles through. Go back to the main timeline, and there it is. We now have switch layers for the hands. But if you watch the last video, the feet, I have no turning for the feet right now. So let's go ahead and do something similar. We're not going to make a switch bone action, but we're just going to make a smart bone action. So on the bone layer, we hit B, select the left foot, hit A, and this time I'm going to draw the bone in the same kind of position that the foot is. I think it just looks better, but you don't have to. Turn the bone strength down. I'll hit B and rename this left foot turn. And as always, color it and label it just so I can see what I'm doing. And click on Smart Bones. And if the action window has been closed, go to Window, Actions, so it opens back up. Smart Bone tab, and name it left foot turn. If you've done it correctly, it'll turn blue. And this time we are going to go ahead and add some space in between our keyframes. So we'll go to frame 12. I'll hit T and rotate the bone straight down, the smart bone. And then let's click on the left shoe, which is right here. And we have all those points on there that we added when we made it. And we're going to grab the tip of the toe, and I'm just going to move it down into the center of the leg, because we know if we're rotating it straight down, this foot's going to kind of turn this way. So we'll just kind of make this a pyramid shape, like that. Maybe bring the toe up a little bit. And then we can scroll through the timeline just to see what it looks like. That looks pretty good. Then we'll go to frame 24. Select the bone layer again. Hit T. Grab the center of it. Turn it to the right. And then select the shoe again. Don't worry about the angle of the actual bone in the foot. You can just leave it that way. That's just for the rotation of the heel. We'll hit T, grab that toe, and kind of make it look just like the right foot. So go ahead and do that. Move all these points to look right, or close to it. And again, you can scroll through the timeline just to see what it looks like. So the smart bone action should look like that. There we go. It's a little wonky, but like I always say in every video, you can always go back and fine tune later. Just kind of get the basics of it down. Like that. Okay. And you could do this with the other foot. I'm not going to, just because it's the same exact process. We're just going to make Rick walk and do a little movement right now. So you can do the same thing. Let's go back into the main timeline. And I'll just add the bone, and we can do the action later. Hit B, select the right foot, hit A, oops, on the bone layer. And add a new bone. Turn the bone strength down, hit B, rename it, right foot turn. I'll color it, and we'll just leave it like that for now, because like I said, these videos are long enough anyway. So okay, so we've done that, and now here comes the hard part. Is making Rick's lab coat, because we need to make 3 different pieces. We need to make the left, the right, and the back of the coat. So let's get started with that. But before we do that, let's go ahead and organize these layers just a little bit better. Let's put the left shoe and the left leg together. I think that should be good for now. And then let's go ahead and color the bones, just so we know what layers control what bones. So I'll hit B. I'm going to grab the left side bones, hold shift down, and grab these as well. Oops. Like that. And then we're just going to change those bone colors to orange, because we made those layers orange over here. Hit B. Go ahead and grab the waist. I'm holding shift down and selecting the rest of the bones in the center of the body. And I'll color those yellow. Hit B. Grab these bones in the right arm and the right leg. Oops. Deselect. Oops. Didn't want to grab the waist bone. Hold shift down, grab those, and then color those purple. Just so we can keep our character organized and we know what's what. Okay, so now let's make the coat, the iconic lab coat. I'm going to turn the reference layer back on. And actually, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and hide everything that we've created so far. So let's just focus on the coat. So I'll hide everything. And I'm going to create a new vector layer. I'll call this back coat. This will just be the back of his coat, this kind of aqua color. On frame 0, I'll hit S, select the square tool, and we'll go ahead and just drag and drop a square here. And again, it's hidden because we have masking in our character group. So let's double click it, turn off masking, don't mask this layer. And it has that skin color in there because we just made some hands. So let's hit Q, select it, turn off the style. And then let's go ahead and use our color picker. Make sure we grab this color. And that's the correct color. And we'll rename this new back coat color, like that. Reason that I'm giving everything a color style is so we can change all of the characters' colors really fast. And I might do that at the very end. So like if it's in the dark or something, I can make them all kind of blue tinted or whatever. Hit C, I'll hit T to grab these points, kind of pull it up so it kind of looks like an apron. So it's the back of his coat. And I'll add a couple more points because we're going to need to have points in this shape for his waist to bend. So let's put a couple by his waist and a couple at the center of his chest, so when he bends over to the left or right, or bends over when he's facing sideways, we can actually manipulate those like that. Okay, let's go ahead and hide that now. The back of the coat's actually, you know, it's going to be the very back or very bottom of our layer, so let's just drag that all the way down right now. And let's hide it for a second. Let's make the sleeves real quick because those are really easy to do. Let's click on the left arm turn that on, and right now we have his kind of aqua color for his shirt. If we click on that and just duplicate that, say left arm, and rename it left arm coat, we'll do that, and hit Q, and I'm gonna hold shift down and select the top part of his arm, and it's hard to see that it's selected because it's a duplicate layer, so when it turns checkered you still can't see through it. But we'll click on the bottom and top of the arm and then turn off the shirt color, and then select white for the fill, and it should turn white like that, or checkered white. And then let's go ahead and make one more style, call it coat color, like that. And because we duplicated the shirt, the left arm for the shirt, it's already bound, so all we need to do is hit T and just move the cuff of his coat up a little bit so we can see his shirt underneath and his coat jacket sleeve above it. And if I hit Z and move that, you can see that the coat's already bound, or that coat sleeve's bound. So same thing for the right arm. We'll go ahead and find that. Let's turn it on for a second. There's our shirt. We'll duplicate that, rename it right arm coat, hit Q, select the top of the arm. You can see that it did select it because you can kind of see where the joint is. Hold shift down, select the bottom part, and then because we made that style, we can just change it to coat color, hit T, move the cuff up on the jacket or the sleeve like that, and that one's bound. So we already have the arms done. If I hit Z, you can see that's bound correctly already. And all we need to do now is make the left and right side of the coat, which is going to be the kind of tricky part when we're doing the body turn. Let's turn those off, and let's go ahead and start making those left and right sides. So new vector, left coat side, or left side coat, sounds better, I think. Left side coat. Okay, we'll hit S, and I'm just have everything else hidden so we can just see the reference layer. Draw a square. Again, it's being masked out, so we need to double click and don't mask. And we had the coat color already from the sleeves we just made, so it's got the correct color already. I'll hit T, move some points, drag this point up here to the neck, and this one to the shoulder. I'll hit A to add a couple more points, bring these in, and let's put a point right by the waist on the outer and inner side of the coat. Again, because we're going to bend it. I'm putting a couple more points underneath here too, just so we can curve the coat, and if we need to do any adjustments when we're turning him, we have those points to work with. Put a couple points on the inner and outer part right by the chest, and then I'll hit S, draw another square really quick, hit A, add some points. This is just going to be the collar, or whatever that is, the flaps of the jacket, and delete that point. We'll use the hide edge tool to do that. Actually, I'm gonna put a point in the middle and hide edge, just so I can kind of bend that shape back and forth when we're turning it. So move this down, kind of match the right side just by looking at it. And there we go. We have the left side. And all we need to do the right side is duplicate that, rename it right side coat, Command A to select all of those points, and flip horizontally, I'm holding shift down so it moves straight left and right. And kind of put that in place. And there we go. We have all the parts ready. But now let's go ahead and turn everything else on and make sure we have everything layered correctly. So I'll turn the reference layer off. Turn all of my artwork back on. And there we go. We got Rick going. I'll hit Z. The arms are connected correctly, but the coat obviously has not been bound to anything yet, so that's not ready. The legs work. So let's go ahead and start binding the coat as best as we can. And see, we need to do some adjusting here. So left side of the coat, let's go ahead and I'm going to move the coat edge up a little bit, and on the right side too. Okay, and first things first, let's go ahead and bind the back of the coat. So let's go to the very bottom, select back coat. I'm gonna select, I think, let's bind the bottom part to the waist. I don't think it's gonna bend right, but let's just do that first. So I'll select the waist bone, hit B, select it, hit G. Then we'll drag and drop over all these bottom points of the back of the coat, including the ones by the waist. Hit bind points, and then I'll hit B again. And the rest of the points I'm just going to bind to the upper chest bone, so I'll select that one instead, not the bottom one. And hit G, grab those 4 points up there, and bind those. Now if you hit Z and move the character, that looks pretty good. Obviously the bottom is really stiff, and we're gonna have to animate that somehow. And then the corners that we did for the waist, or I mean the chest, are really sharp. So just like when we made the shirt, we'll go ahead and do the same little trick. We'll go into the timeline, click on the bone layer. I'm gonna bend him like this. Select the back of the coat, just so we can see those points. I hit T, and they're still covered, which is okay, but I want to make sure that when we're turning the character, it kind of follows the body. So I'm going to go ahead and hit C and curve these points out and move them a little bit, so they're still kind of within his body, like that. We can actually move this down just like that, and I'm going to hit G. I'm going to grab those points that I moved and grab all the keyframes that I made, hit Command X, which is going to cut them, go back to frame 0, and then Command V to paste them. And that just is the little trick we use to kind of get that curve correct and all that stuff like that. Okay, so we got that so far. Let's do the left and right of the coat. Turn on the left side. Let's see. And let's do the same kind of thing. We'll hit B, select the waist bone, hit G, grab these lower points and bind those. And then hit B, grab the chest bone, hit G, grab these upper points, including the coat flap, and hit bind points there. And let's do the right side, turn that on, make sure it's selected. The upper chest bone is selected, so we can go ahead and bind that first. Grab these top points, bind, and then select the waist bone, hit B, and then G, and select those points and bind those, and then hit Z so we can check the bones, and there we go. Obviously it's a little broken because we need to make a smart bone action, just like we did for the back of the coat and the t-shirt or sweatshirt, whatever. So let's go ahead and do that. Not a smart bone action, but just going into the timeline and adjusting. Well, actually, yeah. Maybe it should be. Well, let's do the trick we just did first. Go into timeline and grab the right side of the coat. Hit T. I'll go ahead and move these points and hit C to curve them out some. And hit oh man. Yeah, we'll have to make a smart bone action for the coat flaps. But let's go ahead and adjust these sides like that. Grab those keyframes that we just made, cut them, go to frame 0 and paste. And that doesn't work because now this is curving. Let me hit Z. Yeah, we're gonna have to make smart bone actions instead. Let me do a Command Z. I'm just backing out a little bit. I'm leaving this all in the video though because this is how I work and it's how, you know, I make mistakes and I have to constantly be trying different things to get things to work. And I tried a little bit of this before I started recording, but I think it's better for anybody watching to know and realize that a lot of this stuff is just really tweaking and trying new things to get it to look right. So let's go ahead and hit V. Let's select this chest bone. We'll just call it chest. I'm just renaming it. And I'll turn the label on just so we know that's what we're working with, the chest bone right there. And then we'll go to Window, Actions, Smart Bones. Make sure you're on the bone layer. You should have all those other ones that we already made. Delete that stuff. Create a new action and call it chest. Should turn blue. So I'll hit T and I'll rotate Rick about that far. We'll stay on frame 1 and see if this works. We'll go ahead and turn him about as far as he could turn in the animation. Obviously he can't, the character wouldn't bend like this far. We're just gonna put him to his most extreme, which would be about here. And then we'll adjust the artwork. So let's go ahead and click right coat, hit T, and I'll adjust these points. And hit C to curve them out a little bit and move them over. We'll go ahead and grab the coat flap, kind of adjust that. Oops. Move this over like that. And then select the left side of the coat. Hit T to grab some points, C to curve them. T, moving some points, moving the coat flap over a little bit. Let's curve that. Like that. Let's double click back into the timeline. Hit Z. Bend them a little bit. That's okay. And then let's go ahead and, while we're on frame 0, go ahead and do another smart bone action. Call it chest space 2. Oops. You know what? I tried to create that on a layer that wasn't the bone layer. That's why it disappeared. So make sure you're on the bone layer. New chest space 2, and it'll turn blue. I'll hit T, rotate him this way and do the same thing. Right side coat. Curve these points out with after hitting C. Move the coat collar, or what do you call it? Coat flap, whatever. Over. I'll do the same for the left side. Hit T, grab these points, curve those out. Move these points. Like that. Go back into the timeline. And then let's check this out. Looks pretty good. Let's see. I wonder. Maybe. Okay, we're gonna have to, for the turn, that's gonna be a whole new ball of wax because of these, the front and back of his coat. So maybe we'll use the reference layer, and we will make more than one position now. So let's go ahead and turn that on, the reference layer. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn down, let's turn his head off that we made. And I'm gonna make all of my color styles a little see-through. So I'm gonna go to my styles, I'm gonna select Rick's shirt color, click on the fill, make it see-through. Hit OK. Go to his pants color, make that see-through. So I'm just dragging that down, hit OK. Sock color, just all of them really, and making them kind of see-through. Shoe color, and back coat color. I think I can leave the belt alone. I can guess where that is. Like that. Actually, no, let's just go ahead and turn them all down. Belt color, turn that down. And belt buckle, where's that? There it is. Turn that down too. So let's do a skin color too. Okay. So now we're going to make his body turn a little bit better by, you know, we only made the one keyframe to turn him sideways. Let's go ahead and use this model sheet instead and make a few different ones. So let's double click in the body turn. So instead of, so this is the sideway, you know, we went one frame in and it turns all the way to the side. Let's go to 24. Let's go ahead and grab these keyframes that we made at the very beginning. Drag these all the way to 48. So that's 48 is going to be him turned all the way to the side. So halfway is going to be the 3/4 position. So let's go ahead and, oh, you know what? I need to put the reference layer back into, let's go back in the timeline. I need to put it back into the group folder, the Rick Sanchez folder, so I can animate it as I'm in the body turn. So let's go ahead, double click the body turn. Let's go to frame 24. And because I dropped that reference layer back in there, it can now be moved in here when we'll move it. And this is why I made everything see-through. So this is the 3/4 position. And we're going to line up our reference picture in the back. And you can see things are a little bit off, so now we'll go ahead and adjust them. We're centering the neck, kind of, right there. I'll go to the bone layer. Let's go ahead and grab that. Hit B. I'm going to move this arm into place so it matches our reference photo. Move this over here like that, so that's matching Let's see where the legs are. Go ahead and move this over. Right there. And move this leg right here. And left foot turn. Since we made that turn, we can turn it kind of to fit that, like there. That's pretty good. Then let's go to 36, which is in between. So we can use this next picture. See how there's a picture in between here and to the completely right side turn. So we'll go to 36. Grab that reference photo. Hold shift down and move it over. We'll line the neck up again. And then kind of line up everything. It's really kind of hard to see, but we're going to go ahead and... Oh, you know what? Let me go back into the main timeline. I didn't turn down the coat color. It's really hard to see through that. There we go. So we kind of have a wireframe view of what we've made so far. So let's double click, go to the bone layer, double click into the body turn again. So we'll go to 36. Right there. And let's hit T and move these bones kind of in place. Right there. And it looks like they're foreshortening too. We'll do that here in a second maybe. Where's his shoulder? Right there. I'm just rotating it so it kind of looks like the reference photo. Let's move the leg bones. I know it's really complicated, or it looks really jumbled, but all I'm doing is grabbing the bones and, oops. See, I can see the leg back there. So I'm just lining up the bone to the leg. The right leg and then the left leg like that. And wait a minute. Maybe the reference layer isn't quite where it's supposed to be. Actually needs to be right about there. I'm just lining up the base of the neck because that's pretty much the center of the character. So that's where I'm placing it. So let's go ahead and move these again a little bit. Like that. And to move the bones, remember you need to grab this point. Don't grab the center or the smallest tip. You need to grab this point to move stuff. Like that. Get that in place. And then I'll rotate the foot some more. And then what we can do, actually 12 should be this picture then. So let's go ahead and grab the reference layer, move that into place. That's pretty close to being spot on anyway. So we'll just leave that. Okay, now here's the tricky part, is the coat. So let's go ahead and turn everything else off for a second. And see, we'll just go ahead and leave the right side coat and left side coat on, so we can work with those. And let's do the left side coat. Let's go to frame 12. Or I mean 24. Because we decided 12 looks decent. 24. Let's actually turn the right side off so we can just focus on and the back. Actually, no, let's leave the back on. Let's adjust that. Adjust the back side of the coat just to make sure it's behind the body still. Then the left side, hit T, kind of just adjust so it's matching the wait, is this the coat? Yeah. Do that. And that's pretty good already. Maybe move the coat flap a little bit. Like that. Let's turn the right side on. Hit T. And just adjust that so it matches that model sheet a little better. Bring the sides in some. Like that. And move the coat flap. Oops. I know it looks pretty complicated again, like I said, but you kind of get used to what you're looking at. And moving points. Go to 36, so we have that next picture. Select the left side of the coat. Let's go ahead and adjust it again. Hit T. Move the coat over. Just grabbing points. Collar looks kind of in the right place. Or I mean the flap. Oh, you know what? We might need another point here. Let's curve this out. This might work though. Curve this out, hit T, adjust the coat flap, and select the right side. Let's go ahead and adjust this to match the picture underneath. Oh, let's do the back of the coat too. Let's move that first. Grab that, move it in. Go back to the right side. And this shoulder goes way in. The coat flap would stick out a little bit, so we'll go ahead and leave it like that for now. We'll check it when we're done. Then 48 would be the complete turn. Rick Sanchez. Let's move the reference picture over to the center, which is right about there. And we kind of got the bones in the right place now, I think, anyway. So let's go to the bone layer. Let's make sure, though. Be more kind of right about there. Let's move this over. Put that one just above it. I think that's pretty good. Let's hide the right side of the coat. Let's just focus on the left side. So I'll move this over. The coat kind of comes forward quite a bit. Like that. Right about there. The back of the coat needs to come in. And I don't know how this is going to animate because the back of the coat would go way back like this. So let's just squish it and see what this looks like. And while we're at it, let's go to frame 24. Let's hide the coats and let's look at the waist and the chest and all that stuff real quick too. So let's click on the waist. Oh yeah, we need to adjust the waist a little bit. I'll do a Command A, select it and stretch it out to where it should be. Should be right about there. And this side, hard to tell. Let's hide the back of the coat. Oh, there it is. A lot easier to see. Scoot this in. And again, I'm just matching up. See the width of the waist right here? Let's click on the belt. Command A to grab all the points and move it into position, just centering the belt buckle. Oops. Like that. Let's go to 36. Grab the waist. Let's move these points in so it matches the waist width at least. Like that. 48 where he's to the side. Then we can just adjust these again. Let's grab all these points. Move it over. Waist comes out a little bit in the front. This is why the model sheet is really helpful, because it's giving me an accurate width of everything that we need to move. And oh, let's turn the belt on to make sure that's kind of in the right place still. Go ahead and move that so half the belt's off his waist. Like that. And probably need to do that for his shirt and stuff too. So let's go ahead and select his body. Turn that on for a second. Let's go to frame 12. Or 24. We skipped 12. And we need to widen his shirt some. Let's pull these points over. That looks good. Go to 36. It's getting a little thinner on that side. Like that. And then 48. I need to bring in like this. And should be good. Let's go ahead and check everything really quick. Let's double click back into the timeline. Let's turn the reference layer off. Turn all of our layers back on. And except the joint reference. And I know the colors turned down on everything, but I just want to kind of see what the turn looks like now, since we've added some keyframes and stuff. So let's go to frame 1. And let's go ahead and turn the body. That looks pretty good, except the right-hand side of the coat. Here, let's turn everything else back up. Skin color. Go on frame 0. We'll turn all the color styles back up real quick. Skin color, hair color. Oh, I didn't even do hair color. Eye color I didn't do. Shirt. Click on the fill. Turn it up. Pants color. Turn that back up. And sock color. Shoe color. And belt buckle. And coat color. This one, just so we can see how it's actually looking with that turn. Okay, now let's see. His Z is fully rigged. Obviously the legs don't affect the bottom of the coat right now. We can do something about that, or just manually animate that. But then the real test is hit T. Let's turn him. So that looks pretty good, at least into the 3/4 position. Everything is still correct. This left arm is in front of the hands and everything else. The right arm, the right arm is not behind the coat. That's actually, let's go back to frame 0, double click the body turn. And as soon as he starts turning, well, let's do, I don't know, let's do 12. And let's go ahead and grab his right arm. Oh, let's color this too. Right side coat is going to be purple. Apply. And left coat side is going to be orange. Apply that. So on frame 12, let's go ahead and hold command down. I'm on a Mac. Right side coat, right side hands, and arm, right arm. And drag all of those to the very bottom. Even under the back of the coat. Like that. So let's go back into the timeline. Oh, you know what? Maybe we don't want to put the coat. No, we don't. Let's go back into the body turn. Frame 12. Let's make sure that the right coat side is still above the body. Like that. For a little bit. Go back in the timeline. That way the coats, see how it's still right there? Still need to adjust some of the waist and the shirt. But I want to make sure that this side of the coat's visible for a while the body's turning. Oops. Come on. Until like right about till he's almost turned completely sideways, actually. Ooh, the belt's moving weird too. So all the rest of this tutorial, I mean, you guys, you can stop watching now, but the rest of this is going to be me tweaking it and figuring out how to make this look right. You know, so when he's turned, like the 3/4 positions it looks pretty good already, like right about there. So, you know, I can actually hit Z. Let's go and let's make him walk a little bit. Arm is behind everything, so that should be good. Do Command A, Command F on frame 1, same on frame 24. Go to 12, hit Z. Move his legs in the opposite position. Command A, Command F. Front leg is going forward first, so I'll hit Z. Bend that at frame 6. Bend his arm a little at frame 6. Command A, Command F. 18. Bend his leg. Bend the back arm a little bit. Command A, Command F. Grab these points. Cycle them.
Listen, I'm Rick Sanchez from Earth.
Now let's give him a little sway. Frame 12, I can just grab his chest a little bit and bend him. Or move him just real slightly so he kind of gets a little...
Listen, I'm Rick Sanchez from Earth Dimension C137.
Go ahead and grab the entire layer. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's go to frame 0. Let's shrink him down so he fits on the canvas, first of all. Like that. And let's hide the joint reference. Oh wait, the head. Where's his head? Let's hide the head control.
Listen, I'm Rick Sanchez from Earth Dimension C137.
It's good. Actually, shrink him a little bit more. I'll go to frame 1. I'm going to grab his entire group. The bone group. Transform layer. I'll click on him. Go to frame 6. Move him down a little bit. Grab those 2 keyframes that I just made. Copy. Go to 12. Paste. Go to 24. Paste. Delete that last one. Go ahead and cycle this.
Listen, I'm Rick Sanchez from Earth Dimension C137. Don't mean you any harm. Coming in peace.
There we go. So Rick's walking now. Now I can.
Listen, I'm Rick Sanchez from Earth.
His arms are swaying in the cycle, but I can go ahead and go through here and start animating him a little bit more. So.
Listen, I'm Rick Sanchez.
When he says I'm Rick Sanchez, I'll go ahead and. When he says listen, I'll hit Z. I'll click on his arm. Then when he says I'm, it says I'm right there, so I'll go ahead and pull his arm up and kind of put it to his chest like he's talking about himself. I'm. I'll hit T and foreshorten his forearm a little bit too. I'm Rick Sanchez.
Listen, I'm Rick Sanchez from Earth.
When he says from Earth,
Dimension C137.
from Earth C137, I'll go ahead and
From Earth Dimension.
he says from, I'll go ahead and click on that arm again. Hit Z, click it. I'm going to click on the other arm. Then go forward. When he says Earth, whatever the number is. That way I can move the arm back down. Move this one up. And when he's moving it up, I'll switch the hand pose. Let's hit T. Pick a new hand.
And I'm Rick Sanchez from Earth Dimension C137. From Earth Dimension C137.
I'll go ahead and hit Z. Click on. So when he says 137, before that I'll click on both of these arm bones. 137, I'll put his arms down like this. Go back to where the starting keyframes of that. Click on his chest bone. Just make a starting keyframe. Then go forward. Have him lean back some.
Yes, from Earth Dimension C137. Don't mean any.
Seven. There's an emphasis there, so I'll go ahead and hit T. I'm going to change this hand so it's spread out also.
Sanchez from Earth Dimension C137. Don't mean any harm. Coming.
Have him lean again when he starts a new sentence. So let's go ahead and hit Z. I'll click on his chest bone and these two arm bones, and then when I go forward, don't mean any harm. I'll go ahead and grab his chest bone, move him forward. Move his arms to kind of his side. And then hit T. We'll go ahead and change his hand positions again to resting.
Don't mean any harm. Coming in peace.
Coming in peace. So we'll make starting keyframes. Hit Z. Click on his chest bone. Click on his arm bones just to make some keyframes. When he says peace, go ahead and put this arm up. Lean him back again. Maybe put this arm down. And peace. When he says peace, I'll just do the hand pose that we made with two fingers.
Sanchez from Earth Dimension C137. Don't mean any harm.
Oh, you know what I forgot to do? So when I'm doing these hand poses, they're cycling through. So when you go through the animation, he switches through them all. We need to select those and right click and say step. That way they switch to the exact pose we want.
Earth Dimension C137. Don't mean any harm. Coming in peace.
So let's make sure we have that on this one too. Let's go ahead and go back a bit. Let's hit B. Let's make sure we have that left hand pose selected. And did it change that one too? I think it changed all of them to. Yep. I think it fixed both of them.
I'm Rick Sanchez from Earth Dimension C137. Don't mean any harm. Coming in peace.
Let's go ahead and make him stop walking too. Let's go ahead and go forward. So I'm gonna go right here when he says peace, and this leg is pretty straight. I'll go ahead and do a Command A, Command F, and that's going to freeze frame everything. That'll stop the cycle. And I need to click on him, otherwise he's going to keep bouncing. Like, see that? Because we did the transform layer, so I need to use the transform layer tool, click on it, so it makes a keyframe for that as well. Go forward a little bit, hit Z, put his foot down.
Yep. Coming in peace. It's all cool.
So always, I'm just going to, so now that he's frozen, we can go ahead and freeze frame every bone. So I'll do Command A, Command F. The reason why I wasn't doing that before is because he was walking and I wanted him to keep walking. I'll go forward, hit Z. And then move his hand down. Put his hand over by his chin when he says it's all cool.
It's all cool in the... It's all cool in the...
Let's have him turn back forward a little bit. And his head's moving a little bit, so let's go ahead and move his hand to match that. So let's go to... So it starts moving right about here, so I'll hit Z. Click on his arm. When he looks down, I'll go ahead and move it. Actually, you know what? Let's go back. Undo. We'll click on his hand. Then I kind of grab that and move it.
It's all cool in the...
Then when he says, click on his hand again. Move it out.
In the, good in the...
Let's go ahead and turn him maybe and see. Let's go forward. So we'll click on the body turn, hit T, click on it, the rotation, and then let's go forward a little bit.
In the, good in the neighborhood.
And let's make him move his foot a little bit so it looks like he's turning on his foot. So right here, I'll just click on the bottom of this bone, the pointy part, and then click on it again when he stops, and then go in between, and then I'll just foreshorten it, just so it looks like he's stepping a little bit. See that? But we don't want this foot to look like it's moving, or he's slipping and sliding kind of. So what we'll do is use onion skinning. We'll go ahead and go to that last frame, turn on onion skin, and then click in the timeline just above the keyframes to where he starts moving his foot, and it'll show you that position. So we'll go ahead and hit Z and move that over some. Wait, why is it moving this? Command A, Command F, freeze frame everything, then hit Z. There we go. I'm just moving his foot kind of in the proper place. So see, it kind of stays still.
Good in the neighborhood.
And when he says good, he says good. Hit Z. Let's put his hand on his waist. And Change the hand pose to resting. Oops. Get rid of that.
The good in the neighborhood.
When he says good in the neighborhood, let's go ahead and move his hand back down.
The good in the neighborhood.
Oops. A little bit farther out.
Good in the neighborhood.
Hit T. Let's move. Change these hand poses.
In the neighborhood. Good in the neighborhood is what I was trying.
Let's hit T, grab his chest. Let's kind of bend him when he's... Let's go ahead and turn his head a little bit when he says good in the neighborhood too.
Good in the neighborhood.
So now we'll go back to his head group. Hit T, grab his head bone control. Have him turn.
Neighborhood is what I was trying to.
Actually gonna copy and paste his head position so he stays looking over that way for a little while. And when he starts turning, I'll click on the eye position. Have him look up.
The neighborhood is what I was trying to come.
Then he gets kind of serious again, so we'll have him turn back. So let's go back to Command A, Command F to freeze frame. I want to keep his eyes looking up for a little longer, so let's go back into the head group. The eye position is selected still, so we'll copy that keyframe, paste it over here. I'm just moving his eye pupil position real quick. Let's go ahead and change his body position again.
Neighborhood is what I was trying to come. Is what I'm.
Hit T. Go to resting position again.
What I was trying to come is what.
Command A, Command F. Have him point. Oh no. Let's do that with the other arm. Or now let's do this hand.
Is what I meant. Is what I was trying to come. Is what I meant. Is what I meant. What I meant.
Here we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna end the video here because the rest of this is gonna be tweaking. I'll go ahead and add, I think, a little bit more after this, but the rest is just gonna be kind of like speeding through it. So if you guys have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Like I said, really the tweaking is just gonna be when I do a body turn, how this coat sides react. But other than that, we should be good. And obviously adjust the belt so it looks right and all that stuff. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.
Listen, I'm Rick Sanchez from Earth Dimension C-137. Don't mean you any harm. Coming in peace. It's all cool in the good in the neighborhood is what I was trying to is what I meant.